DBS Plays. Hey folks, welcome back to DBS Plays, where today we are continuing Sonic Advance with Knuckles the Echidna. And let's go ahead and get that started. So, I don't know what to bring up today. I know last time... Hold on, let me turn down my TV a little bit. Alright. I don't really know what to bring up today because... I know past couple of parts, past couple of sessions I brought up... Okay, I thought that was gonna hit the crab. Anyway, past couple of sessions I brought up, I'm talking about Sonic stuff when I played as Sonic, and I brought up the Switch. I was talking about when I was playing as Tails. But today, I don't know what to bring up. I guess I'll just ramble about other stuff while I'm, playing as Knuckles. I can do this as I do it. So Knuckles, like I said, in the Tails part, is like, he's the second easiest character to use in the game. It's because he can't fly, but he can glide, and when he's gliding, he is a bit faster. He's just going with the wind and stuff. But yeah, this is the first character I ever used in a Sonic game that I ever owned. I'm not doing the special stages. I don't need to. Okay, I was about to say, whoa, but yeah, that was because I beat the level. So, but I think that, let's see, what was I gonna say? I don't know. But yeah, this was my first character, thinking it was another version of an evil Sonic or whatever. Again, there were a lot of things I just did not pay attention to the name of. Like I didn't do that much reading. I did very minimal reading. So I'm just saying that, like, whenever I got this game, I was like, I barely read anything. So I didn't read the name Knuckles. I didn't know he was an echidna. Paid no attention to that. Heck, I don't even think I still knew what a hedgehog was at that time, but... So my knowledge of life was very, very minimal at that point. Wow, I got to him quick. But yeah, I was just kind of, I was just a dumb kid. Just put it simply. Yeah. Oh shoot, am I about to die on this first stupid boss? Yeah. I was trying to be cool and stuff, and I ended up making making my time a bit longer here. But anyway. Yeah. Which, I mean, out of the, I guess you could say that the classic characters of, like, the Genesis days, I guess Knuckles would be my favorite. It's just that, for a while, Knuckles would be my favorite, but, Shadow definitely took that spot of being my favorite Sonic character. But anyway, let's see. So you can imagine... Other than a lot of other people, I was not a big fan of, like, when they made all these changes to these characters. So, you know what? There's something to talk about. The portrayals, whatever, of Sonic characters in different Sonic games and media and stuff all around. So Sonic, like, really, when you look at it, there's been so many different versions of Sonic over the years, over the 30 plus of the. So he'll be 33 this year. Yeah, he'll be 33. The franchise will be 33 this year. So, like, there's in that time, there's been so many different versions of Sonic that, like, honestly, there's not really a right or wrong version of Sonic. I mean, there's generally things that they have to follow when it comes to Sonic, like the characters and stuff, but and generally in the story, but for the most part, like, you know, there's not really a right or wrong version of Sonic. There's just preferred and not preferred versions of Sonic, depending on who you ask. Like, I grew up in the adventure slash, exactly what my cat said. I don't know if you heard him or not. He made a funny meow. He has a zoomies right now. Okay, in case you do hear him in the background. I don't know if you do or not, but he's like meow or something. Anyway, if I hear destruction, I'll have to pause it, of course. But but anyway, yeah. So, like, Sonic, like, there's, you could say that there's just really not a right or wrong version of Sonic, per se. Like, right portrayal of the characters, because, again, there's been so many different versions. Like, you know, in the older game, like, well, there's a lot to talk about, but, now, if you watch the older cartoons, like the old cartoons from the early 90s, early to mid 90s, you'll see, like, you know, it was a lot more cartoonier, but the games were more, I mean, like, they weren't serious, but they were more, like, you know, they were a bit different. They were definitely different from the cartoons. But yeah, so, and then, like, when it came to Sonic, I grew up in the Sonic Adventure slash, you know, 2000s era of Sonic. Because, I mean, while I was born in 94, I pretty much grew up in somewhat the 90s, but mostly the 2000s. Like, that's where, like, I grew up, you know, starting in 1994, which was the, you know, the mid-90s, but, like, the beginning of it, but, like, as far as, like, my memory goes and all that, you know, it's pretty much, like, I'm pretty much, like, a I guess you could say I'm a mix between being a 90s and a 2000s kid. So that's, like, cause I remember some things from the 90s. It was mostly the late 90s, is what I remember. So I grew up in the adventure slash, you know, 2000s era of Sonic. When I started liking Sonic again, I mean, like, this was my first Sonic game, as I've stated. And that's like, and this is kind of the mix of the era. Like, it's a 2D game, but it's like, takes place in the adventure era of Sonic. But again, I also, like, I don't remember if I said this before, but, like, I also grew up with the older Sonic games, because in 2004, whenever my family got a PS2, actually it was in 2003 when my family got a PS2, but it was 2004, like, one of my few games that I got over the, you know, after Christmas stuff for a while was, like, you know, we got Sonic Heroes, but, that was cool. So yeah, I grew up in that era, and, like, you know, Sonic Heroes was my first 3D Sonic game, but that same year I got a GameCube and a bunch of Sonic stuff. But like, before Christmas, I had gotten I got Sonic, what do you call it? Sonic Mega Collection Plus on PS2. And then that Christmas I got Sonic Mega Collection on GameCube, so so I had two ways to I always do that if there's a bug nearby, just in case it flies in my mouth and I don't notice it. There was like a little fly, but anyway, yeah, there was a, I had two ways to play the old Genesis games. And I thought they were fun, but basically where I'm getting at is I grew up with both the Dreamcast, or the Adventure era, and the old era, and like, you know, the games going forward. So I had time to get to know some of the Sonic lore, and of course before I even knew about the old games, like my cousins who were younger than me were mentioning, and I mean, and my brother too, which is older, who is older than me, but my cousins who were younger than me knew about Sonic on the Genesis, like Sega systems, before me, and I was thinking, and I remember saying like, Sonic was on Sonic was on Sega or what, or there was a Sega, you know, all that stuff. Of course, whenever I was a kid and I saw the font they used for Sega, whenever I first played this game, it was like a very similar font. It was very similar to how the font looks with the Sears logo, and because it began with an S, my mind went to, okay, this is a Sears game. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it just, I don't know, just like, yeah, Sonic was made by Sears. But anyway, this is also back when I thought that like Sears was primarily like a tool place, like had tools and stuff, which I think it had tools, but like, I was like whenever I learned, like, I never paid attention as a kid that, like, when we were in a Sears, I think it's because my dad would always go to, like, the tools there, or something like that. I didn't realize it was more than just a tool store, as a kid. But anyway. Yeah, so, yeah, Sonic was not made by Sears, just so you know. But, let's see here. If I can get my train of thought back. But anyway, okay, where I was getting at earlier. The quote-unquote right Sonic portrayal, to me, personally, this is probably because I grew up with it, but the right Sonic portrayal to me is Sonic in, like, the 90s and 2000s. Where he's, you know, attitude and all that stuff, like, and but he's like a good soul. He's a kind person, even if he's, you know, he's got that attitude, which was supposed to be the thing that separated him from Mario. And people say, well, it hasn't aged as well. It's like, well, you know, whenever he's nice in the 2000 stuff, I think that's perfectly fine. That's something we should all hope for, is for a nice person. Which they got that very wrong in the like, he's a bit cocky. Sonic's cocky. He's always been cocky. But and that'd be the thing, is that, like, if he wasn't cocky, then he, you know, it wouldn't really be Sonic. But they took things a bit too differently, or too far with the cockiness in the 2010s. So it just felt wrong to me. Like, let me put it this way, like, the fact that they changed the way he was in the 2010s, that wasn't completely wrong. It wasn't like the wrong portrayal of Sonic, because you know, they may have changed him and the other characters a lot, but they didn't change him. They still, at their core, were Sonic characters. The problem was, they just didn't do a good job at it. Like, I was fine with the way he was in the 90s, I was fine with the way he was in the 2000s, but the 2010s, I was not fine with. And, like, I think a lot of people agree, like, classic Sonic fans will say that, oh, after the Genesis, you know, all bad, but, as I've mentioned a lot before, but, a lot of classic Sonic fans, But the modern, like the, how should I say this? It's just that in the 2010s, they just screwed them up. They just really screwed up the characters. Because, well, like I said, it's not a wrong portrayal. It's just not a good portrayal of them. It just wasn't, you know. So hopefully here in the 2020s, we'll be seeing more. I mean, however many games we get, hopefully we'll be seeing more of them being not the way they were in the 2010s, which they've improved them, don't get me wrong. But yeah, right here, I was just talking about before, like, Knuckles can do that. Which you can hold down and he'll go, well, down. But, yeah. All the characters just kind of became, you know, were kind of flanderized. Well, mostly in Sonic Boom, but again, like, I can accept that as a borderline parody of the series anyway. That's just official. And voiced by the you know, the current, well, anyway, the semi-current main cast. Yeah, it was. I kind of separate Sonic Boom as being, well, technically it kind of is its own universe, but yeah, I just kind of, yeah, I view Sonic Boom a bit differently. Like, to me, I liked the Sonic Boom cartoon, but it honestly could have been like any cartoon, in all honesty. So it wasn't really good as a Sonic cartoon. It was just a decent cartoon in general. It's just that having Sonic characters what piqued my interest in watching the show to begin with. But anyway, yeah, like, yeah. But whenever they put them into the main, they kind of had that in the main story with that kind of writing and stuff. That's when I didn't like it. Again, it wasn't a wrong way to. It wasn't a wrong way to do it. It was just, yeah. It just wasn't a good way to portray them. Because they became flanderized. They became, you know, like just kind of basic versions of themselves. And while I'm sure classic Sonic fans aren't really going to care, there's a ton of Sonic fans in general that care about that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, thankfully they're hopefully fixing it. They've mostly fixed it in Sonic Frontiers. They didn't do a perfect job, but they still did a much better job. By the way, speaking of Sonic Frontiers, this is really off topic, kind of, but how do people like hear Sonic's commentaries on like different characters he brings up? Because I have yet to actually hear much of that. Because I see all this stuff like he'll bring them up and like they're moving. I mean, they may have been not moving in some of these videos, but like I've seen these videos where people show, oh yeah, Knuckles swims whenever you do that. Anyway, I need to let's see. Let's see here. Yeah. And yeah. Hold on. I need some ring. Oh, I got some rings. Okay. Now, let's see. I think an example of like how they were actually doing things right, like by changing the characters, back to something more likable, was Sonic Prime. Sonic Prime definitely did a good job at like portraying the characters as a lot of fans want to see them portrayed. I mean, again, they didn't do a perfect job. But, I mean, obviously, I'm not talking about just, like, the alternate universe characters, but, like, they definitely fixed Shadow a lot. like the character that Shadow is, for the most part, in Sonic Prime, I'm like, Shadow's back. You know, everyone's like, Shadow's back. He's back to being... Because, like, there was... well, a lot of them had such a misunderstanding of what the characters are generally supposed to be. You know, again, it's not wrong, because there's so many portrayals of Sonic. It was just not a good one. But they did... okay, they did a bad job with portraying the characters. Because Shadow was essentially... well, okay, in Sonic Boom, he was essentially a villain. Like he was basically a villain. Even if they didn't directly say that, Shadow was basically a villain. So... and, like, Shadow's not a villain. At all. But again, parody in Sonic Boom. But I want to say the worst portrayal of Shadow in a Sonic game that isn't the Sonic Boom universe would have to be, in my opinion, him in Team Sonic Racing. He was somewhat insufferable in Team Sonic Racing. Because he was just this selfish, self-centered, I'm better than everyone, dark character, edgy character, rude to people all the time, you know, all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. But that's not a good portrayal of Shadow, because that actually really misrepresents his character. And the fact that they did that to a character that is literally the second most popular Sonic character in the entire franchise, in the entire canon, the fact that they did that to him, that made so many people mad. Like, that was... everyone just saw that and was like, this isn't Shadow. There's like very few characters that they did not really ruin or didn't have bad portrayals in, you know, after they changed writers and stuff. Oh, I am supposed to go this way. Okay. You know, this is always the confusing part. Like, if I'm getting caught here, it's just like, well, where am I supposed to go? There's always a confusing, like, obviously I'm not supposed to go there, but it always gets confusing around this part. But anyway, yeah, Shadow's character was very botched in the newer writing of the character and like the dialogue and stuff. It's like again, you could say, like I've said many times, you know, again about the portrayals, but like when it comes to Shadow, I think that was the one that they actually just really misrepresented and was just not Shadow's character. But in Sonic Prime, they fixed him. Like he still had. It was like he was kind of in that transition of being, going from being, you know, his misrepresented self to like fixing his character up. Like he went from, you know, like at the beginning he was kind of sort of, you know, like he wasn't a villain or anything, and he wasn't all that self-centered, but he was just like, you know, Sonic, you're doing things wrong. You know, I'm mad at you now. Because I mean, the whole thing kind of happened because Sonic screwed up. But like, yeah. They did still kind of misrepresent Rouge, but I know what the reason is. Like, I know what they're trying to do when they have Rouge as part of, as being more part of the team now, is that they're trying to get more of that equaling out that boy-girl dynamic. Like, trying to have as many girls as there are boys in the main, as part of the main cast. So like in the post classic Sonic type thing, because in the classic Sonic era they just started having Amy more there, which part of her character though is that she loves Sonic. They don't have to make her obsessed, you know, always damsel in distress. That was wonderful there. They don't have to make her damsel in distress or anything, which they don't do all that much, but, you know, when she just became just another one of Sonic's friends, and not one of Sonic's friends that actually likes him more than just being a friend. And there's always been things where, like, Sonic just isn't ready to settle down, but he does have feelings for Amy. But, like, you know, I mean, not in every portrayal of him, but, like, obviously in the comics and in Sonic Sat AM, he's you know, he's a Sally Acorn fan, but yeah, it's just, I feel like they need to go back to having Amy have a crush on Sonic, and Sonic trying to, like, you know, just wanting to live life before he admits he has a crush on Amy. I feel like that's kind of part. I mean, that was part of the characters even in the classic era. So that's not just a modern thing. That's also a like, even from the moment that you see Amy in Sonic CD, her first appearance, she's like following Sonic around or really wanting to get attached to Sonic with hearts everywhere and stuff. But I mean, like, I feel like she was portrayed well enough in the like, whenever they had her in, oh shoot, whenever they had her in like the games after the Genesis days, because I mean, she was obsessed with Sonic, but she was also like, if she got angry, if she lost her temper and stuff, then she would, you know, she's got her hammer and everything, and, you know, so like, I was fine with Amy in the, before they changed her to just being a friend of Sonic. Anyway. Maybe I should have talked about that more when I started using Amy. But yeah, Knuckles, I'll talk about Knuckles now. He was, again, flanderized, like, where, cause he's always been gullible, but he's not like, but he wasn't dumb. And Sonic Boom, again, that was fine, parody, but like, he's not a dumb character, he's just kind of gullible. You know, I can't remember if I fought this robot character when I first as Knuckles, or if I fought him. Probably fought him as Tails first, because I got a whole lot farther with Tails. Ow. There we go. Eggman. Eggman. Of course, I love Knuckles' portrayal in the second Sonic movie, where he was the right amount of gullible, but he wasn't, like, dumb. He was just, you know, trying to check my phone here for notifications, or all the notifications that came up. But yeah, anyway, Knuckles is, he's not dumb, he's just gullible. So there's that. And then Tails, boy, oh, man, a lot of people hated what happened to Tails in the 2010s. Like, now, here's the thing. The 2010s era probably wouldn't have stung as bad. It probably wouldn't have felt as bad that they portrayed the... I mean, we probably still wouldn't like the way they portrayed the characters. But if it was actually a reboot of the franchise, like its own... It started in its own timeline, then we wouldn't have minded... Some people probably wouldn't have minded as much, because they'd be like, well, I don't like this timeline, I like this timeline more. No, this like the Sonic games after the 2000s, like in the 2010s, those are a continuation of, like, these games in this era. So, you know, and they're, like, so drastically different now. I've heard a lot of this stuff explained by Pariah I keep forgetting the numbers, but Pariah, like, he's on YouTube here. But I mean, most people will know more about him than me. But anyway, most people will know more about him than they would me, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, he makes some pretty interesting videos talking about the Sonic franchise and the Sonic, you know, series in general. And he talks about other stuff too, but it's mostly Sonic. And like, I don't agree with him on everything, but he's brought up so many good points about the franchise that I'm just like, man, I never thought about that, and he brought it up, and that's actually a really good point, you know, that kind of thing. So, so when it comes to, like he was defending, I can't remember how much he actually defended the game Shadow the Hedgehog, but he was defending Shadow's character in that game, because people didn't like how Shadow was portrayed in his own game, but people did like, or I mean, Pariah pointed out that, you know, Shadow being different may be a result of him having amnesia, and, you know, so his character could be different. And, so the different timelines of, like, what he goes through and like, how he ends up could make sense in terms of, like, you know, how he's manipulated and what you know, what information he's given. So, you know, but eventually, you know, he like, Shadow's an anti-hero. He's you know, he's not the opposite of Sonic, but he's like well, he kind of is, but he kind of isn't. Because, like, he has good things in mind, he just does it, you know, in like a not a traditional hero type of way. Now, I know when it comes to Sonic, he's kind of not, like, supposed to be he doesn't see him, in some portrayals, he doesn't see himself as the hero. He just happens to, you know, do what he feels is the right thing to do, which happens to be the right thing to do, you know, usually. And Shadow, you know, he'll just do what he feels is right as well. It just doesn't always seem like it's the right thing, but he does, you know, he's just kind of maybe, you know, maybe the fact that, like, there's a lot of people who are introverts, that's probably why that's why they relate to Shadow some. Because he's obviously a bit introverted. But yeah, and then when it comes to Shadow in Sonic Prime, like I said, he started out as kind of how he was in the 2010s, but then evolved into, like, you know, he starts helping Sonic more, and it was just like, you know, him and Sonic kind of have this like, you know, partnership thing going on. Like, they're working together. They're like, they're almost like a brother, like an adopted brother type of situation, where, like, Sonic's trying to be the, you know, he's kind of annoying, but he's like the uplifting, fun-loving brother type character, and then Shadow's like the you know, type of like the way Sonic is. He's just like, oh, okay. Because, like, Sonic saved Shadow at one point, and then Shadow saves Sonic, and, you know, he's just like, I know I'm gonna regret this, and, you know, he's hesitant, but he's one to help out. And then, like, not to spoil it, I mean, here's a spoiler, but Shadow, like, when Sonic saves the place where he's about to essentially die, and when everyone's trying to help him out, he's, you know, he gets as far as he can, and then Shadow helps him the rest of the way. Like, basically actually carries him back to his own or to their own dimension or reality or whatever we want to call it. But Sonic's, you know, he still jokes around. He's like, man, I didn't picture you as a hugger. And then Shadow's like, "You want me to save you or not?" It's kind of charming. And I'm sure the Sonic and Shadow shippers were like, "Whoa, man." They're probably having a field day with that one. But you know, they didn't do anything gay. They were just, you know. But anyway, I kind of saw it as a adopted, or I mean, like, you know, stepbrother relationship type of thing in that situation, almost like that. But yeah, it really says a lot about Shadow with the fact that he's the second most popular character, even though Tails has been around. You know, you would think that it'd be like Tails, because Tails has been in almost as many games as Sonic. Like, almost any game that Sonic is in, Tails is also in, since his debut in Sonic 2. But he's not the second most popular character, it's Shadow. Obviously, Sonic is the most popular Sonic character. I mean, it's Sonic. But like, yeah, Shadow is... I'm gonna be so mad if I lose all these rings. But it'll be kind of expected, in all honesty, if I do. Because, I mean, the gig could be like that. Like that, too. But I want to see if I can make it without, you know, getting hurt. Oh. Do 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 do. See if I can do this. Okay, I'm in the home stretch now. So unless I somehow die between now and when I get to okay, there were spikes there. But I just made it with nearly 300 rings. So of course I'm going to get a big high score. Or a big score in general. I will be right back, folks. Alright, I'm back. And Knuckles is prepared. Alright, I want to look at his, let's see. I see him doing that. And honestly, I'll occasionally do that, like, whenever he's, like, punching his fists like that. Just to, like, because I think about that. I don't know. It's just one of those things. But, I don't plan to hang on to all my rings, especially with the boss here, but I will get as many as I can. Or hold on to as many as I can. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Okay, I'll be getting rings here too now. So anyway, yeah. Sonic Prime... I want to say Sonic Prime overall was a... it was a good show. It wasn't a perfect show, but it was a really good show. Especially for Sonic fans. Now, there are people that say, like... There are some people that say, like, Sonic Prime started out good, and the middle was good, it was the best, and then fell apart in Season 3. Which, I mean, really, it's just all one big season. It's really not Season 3, or... Season 3 is just Season 1, Part 3. Because that's what some of these streaming services do nowadays, is they give you some of the... Like, they give you certain episodes that have come out, but they wait a while before they give you the others and just call them different seasons, when in reality, they're really just, you know, one big season split up and called different seasons. That's essentially what that is. So... Like, I will say, Season 3 did start to kind of drag out a bit in some areas. I will say that. Now, I better not see any anime Dragon Ball fans say something like, oh, if they watch that and they say, oh, it lasted too long, I actually just beat that boss with all my rings. I don't know how that happened. Well, I had a shield, but, you know. But they might, if they say anything like, you know, this final part took too long, or, you know, it lasted too many episodes, and I better not hear any of that, because Dragon Ball, as I love Dragon Ball, by the way. I like that franchise. But their sagas can, like, they can be in, like, the same area doing the same fight for multiple episodes. So if anyone tries to complain about, and that, you know, who are fans of those, try to complain about Sonic Prime doing that, I'm just gonna be like, you hypocritical, stupid idiot. You know, because again, it's like, that happens all the time, a lot of times in the Dragon Ball franchise, where they'll be in, like, the same place, same fights and everything for multiple episodes. So, yeah. I'm not saying they don't bring their own flair, their own differences to set them apart from the other ones, but they definitely last a really long time. And that's kind of what happened with the final season of, for the most part, what happened with the final season of, you know, quote-unquote final season of Sonic Prime. Some people were wanting it to keep going, but in all honesty, I think the story wrapped up nicely. Okay. Die! Ah, you stupid. Anyway. So yeah. Sonic Prime, good show. Even if it wasn't perfect, it was a good show, overall. Alright. Oh. Oh. I mean, I know that was my fault, but this is a stupid fight. It's again one of those sometimes easy, sometimes hard fights. Like, it seems that way, if you know what I mean. So I remember seeing my friend play, I can't remember if it was as Sonic, or if it was someone else he played as, you know, played this part. I remember seeing him play it, and I was like, that looks pretty cool. Just took a little bit of gameplay to convince me that, yeah, I want to play, I want to get this. Yeah, this is what happens. And of course, prevents me from getting my ring. Oh my gosh. Anyway. I did get through this pretty fast. Maybe this is trying to make up for how fast I got through the game as Knuckles. Maybe, I think that, like, this kind of thing where you use the characters, like, you can use the characters anytime you want and, like, have their own campaign, you know, quote-unquote campaign. Just kind of, nowadays, that's a modern term for saying multiple stories. But playing through as Knuckles, oh my gosh. Quit. Anyway. It's like, a lot of times here, it's like by the time you're able to react to what he's doing, it's already too late. It's almost like you got like a split second to actually hit him. That's what's really annoying. And you also gotta hold on, you also gotta go after your rings if you lose them. But anyway. So yeah, I'm assuming I'll either... I'm thinking I'll either name this... I'll come up with something, but like I'll either name this part like, you know, Sonic was created by Sears or something, or like, or call it like, Sonic's... Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not complaining there. Sonic's character portrayal, or the franchise character portrayal, I don't know, something. I'll call it something. Something or other. And Sonic Rescue. Okay, that's right. The only time Tails does it, I got it mixed up. The only time Tails rescues someone is when it's Sonic, because Sonic's not flying the plane. Let's see here. Pencil nose. And that was Knuckles' campaign with my Tennessean accent, my Tennessean Kentuckian accent. Okay. Just kind of looking at stuff on my phone. But yeah, Dimps did a really good job with these games. I mean, not a perfect job. They went a little overboard with some of the enemy placement and the bottomless pits. But other than that, you know, they did. So back in the day, I would have called Sonic Advance 3 my favorite Sonic Advance game. Looking at it now, though, looking at all the games now, I for a while I've been saying this has been my favorite Sonic Advance, and I think it may still be because of some of the, like, Sonic Advance 2. If it wasn't for some of the stuff they did in that game, that would be my favorite Sonic Advance game. But because of some of the decisions they made in terms of getting everything and like some of the decisions they made with the game just hold it back from being my favorite Sonic game. It's like with Banjo-Tooie. Banjo-Tooie might have been my favorite Banjo-Kazooie game if it wasn't for a few things, for a few factors. But as of right now, the first Banjo-Kazooie is my favorite Banjo-Kazooie game. But the reason I think that's Sonic Advance 3, like, I look back at it now, like, I played it kind of recently on my hacked 3DS. Playing it now, I realize the level design is a little too experimental. It's fine to be experimental, but it got a little too out of hand, and I was just like, it's not as... it's kind of harder to play now. But, it's not a bad game. It's still a fun game. It's just, you know, a little too experimental with the levels. Like, too much of you having to go back and change characters to, like, really match up with how you want to get through the levels. But anyway, that was Knuckles' campaign in Sonic Advance 1. So join me next time that I play this, where I will be finishing as Amy. I would finish the series off with, like, doing Super Sonic and some other stuff, but that already happened in the first part, so it just kind of brought me there, so I'll just be finishing this as Amy. So until next time, like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more of these videos or any other types that I make, and I appreciate you for watching. Have yourself a good day or night.